Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts. I am Peter, that is Matt. We talk about movies, new movies, specifically, on this show. And we have a sequel to a movie that we both quite enjoyed that just came out. So we're going to talk about Kingsman, The Golden Circle. We will start spoiler free. We'll give you a warning before we go into spoilers about halfway through. And yeah, we'll get into it. It's worth mentioning, me and Connor did a review of the first movie just a couple of weeks ago. It just went up actually for the public on YouTube this past week, so you can revisit that and see what we thought there. Because when we get to spoilers, and maybe even before spoilers, I will bring up some stuff that we talked about in that, because we had some concerns about this one going into it, and I think it was worth kind of going over some of those points. But yeah, so we like the first Kingsman a lot. This one is sort of, everything's bigger. It's a big sequel, insane action sequences. One of the best things about the first movie by Matthew Vaughn, who's back to direct this one, is his action scenes are basically some of the best in Hollywood right now.
Yep. Dude has such an eye for action without losing focus. Like, because around, I want to say it was Bourne, you got the real up-close shaky cam. That was fine when Green Gas was doing it, because he did it limited. But then that just became like shorthand for I don't know how to film a fight scene or an action scene.
It's so easy.
And it's ruined it.
Me and you right now could go outside and do a shaky cam fight scene and it would look good. Whereas if you actually had to do the fighting in camera and train for it, that takes a lot more,
And what Vaughn does is he one-ups that and he turns them into one-shots where the camera follows characters and doesn't really cut away from them, and it's really cool and it's fun to watch.
And another big thing as well is, I always talk about this with action scenes, is that there's always a great sense of geography. I always understand where the two sides of the action are in the scene. If it's two people fighting, I always understand where they both are, what they're doing, the dangers around them. I always understand it. And I always bring up the end of Batman v Superman a lot, because that's a lack of geography, because it's just CG smoke around everything. There's no sense of where people are in the scene. Whereas
it's kind of shaky cam on steroids, right?
What, this?
No. Batman vs Superman, where it's not really up close shaky, but the fact that you can't get a take on anything.
You just threw me by calling it shaky cam, because it's not really shaky cam. It's more, because if anything, it's the opposite, because he's doing ultra slow-mo every 2 seconds. But
I was just using that as a shorthand, where where it's of that style. Whereas I feel like Matthew Vaughn's the anti-Zack Snyder, and I have a dog in this fight, considering I want Matthew Vaughn on Superman so bad. Especially after this.
He's talked about it. He's said in interviews what his idea of Superman would be and so on. And but no, his action is great. There's some great stuff here. The car chase at the start is fantastic. There's a bird's eye shot of that car chase in the middle of it, where it goes round like multiple corners as like gunfire's being dodged, and it is just phenomenal stuff. And like the action scenes, the first one were great. This one, they're still great. It's really, I think the word I would sum up the action stuff is inventive. It's very inventive. It uses objects, it uses locations in ways that I've not seen. I talked a lot about in the first movie how in the church scene, at one point, Colin Firth stabs someone with a part of the gun because he's out of ammo, and I'm like, I don't think I've seen that in an action movie before, where someone just grabs the top of the gun and just stabs someone with it. Like, it's inventive. It's doing things with objects and ideas that I've not seen before, and I feel like he always brings that to his game. And when I'm talking about how much I liked Golden Circle, which I did, I have some big criticisms though, and we'll get into those. But
it's not perfect, but like, this is the most fun I've had at the theater probably since Baby Driver. Like, I loved War of the Apes. That really wasn't fun because it was so serious.
Well, no, because that's not a fun movie. That's a serious drama.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like, I had so much fun with this movie, and even I rewatched the first before because my wife had never seen it, and she wanted to see Channing Tatum in this one. So I was like, well, if you're going to see The Golden Circle, you got to watch The Secret Service. And she ended up liking it, which is really rare because she calls them big dumb action movies. But she really liked the first one. She really liked this one.
This is the thing, is that the script for the first one, and maybe not as much this one, but I wouldn't call them dumb. They're dumb in the sense that they have lots of dumb things in it. But the script itself and how it plays with those things isn't dumb. That's the difference between this and, say, a Michael Bay film.
Yeah. When she says big dumb, she just means it's big, it's loud, there's a lot of stuff going on. Here, it's not as much. Like, these are almost my favorite comic book movies because they are that kind of over the top, actiony, like, you know what I mean? That makes sense?
Yeah, no. They're over the top. They're big action. The characters have heart to them. You care about them a lot more than maybe you do in some other action movies, and that's what makes it work. But yeah,
well, they Vaughn and Goldman, his writing partner,
Jane Goldman.
Jane Goldman. I can't remember her first name, but they do a really good job at teaching you that no one is really safe in these movies. Like, their stakes in that first one, that you're just like, oh man, this just really got raised. I think, and it happens again here multiple times.
I do think they dilute it in this movie a bit though. And this isn't a spoiler, because in the trailers and in the posters, you know that Colin Firth is back as Harry. And it's a big issue for me, because actually one of my biggest complaints of this movie is that I actually don't think they should have brought him back. I don't think they do anything with him. He's kind of just wasted. And we'll get into more of that, of course, in the spoilers. But
yeah. He's kind of there to serve the plot, to move certain things forward that you really couldn't have Eggsy do, right? He's there with Eggsy to do some of those things.
You couldn't have Eggsy do it, but you could easily substitute someone else in to do it.
Someone else that does it. And it did need to be Colin Firth.
It didn't
need to be Harry.
And some of his plot's murky, and we'll get into that in spoilers, but I don't think he needed to be there. Channing Tatum is oddly also didn't need to be here at all. He contributes nothing to this film. I
heard that he got cut out for time. There's some more scenes that he had that got cut out or that were reshot.
The problem is, though, Matt, is that what's left gives him no purpose in the movie. Yeah.
Well, same with Jeff Bridges. Like,
to a point.
I love that dude.
At least with him, though, he's like the leader of this organisation. I buy that he's just there for a couple of scenes to be the character he is. Whereas Tatum, even in the movie, it feels like they set him up to be this big thing. Like, he's going to be a big character. Even one of the first posters of this movie, he's in it. Yeah, and it's like, why is he?
I'm just saying that as a big Jeff Bridges fan who loves basically everything he does. Even R.A.P.D., which was terrible, he was good in. So, he brings that,
Matt's questionable taste ruin its head once again.
When there's a Ryan Reynolds movie and you're married to my wife, you tend to watch it, good or bad. I've seen a lot of bad things, guys. But
wait, does she return the favor when you're going to see a Alexander Daddario movie? Does she return the favor?
Oh yeah. She sat through a good couple of those.
Oh, I'm just checking.
So, Baywatch. Well, she was there more for Zac Efron, but it equaled out. So, don't see Baywatch, guys. Don't.
And you stuck up for that. I was shitting on that movie before it came out, and you were sticking up for it.
Well, because you're doing it before it came out. That's once it came out and I had seen it, I was like, oh no, Pete was right, and I can't tell him he was right.
Yeah, but trust that I can smell a turd in the water, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I can smell a turd in the water.
But yeah, with Kingsman, to bring it back to there, where's I going with this? With Jeff Bridges. But yeah, he adds a color to the character. I kind of want more of the Statesman. That's what this movie, if anything, I wouldn't mind a Statesman spin-off.
To be fair, I think they actually are seeding a spin-off, maybe, which is fine. That's fine if you want to do it. The problem is I don't think this movie on its own actually... If you want to introduce something that could be spun off, don't make it feel like you've just put it in there so it could be spun off. Actually do something with it in this movie on its own so that it feels justified. Whereas here it's mainly just like, oh, this is where they get all their resources now that their main place has been taken care of. So that's basically all it is.
I did like that there was an American version of the Kingsman and how it shows the difference between the cultures. Like, just how their gadgets are different, the way they dress, and what it means to be a gentleman. Because that was probably my favorite Channing Tatum stuff. It's the stuff that he has the most with. When he first runs into them, and he's kind of just like, it's not very proper to be sneaking into places, so if you guys are who you say you are, it's not very gentlemanly. It was, some cool differences there.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem with the movie is Colin Firth coming back, some wasted characters, and one especially, which I can't talk about until spoilers at all, but there's a character in this that I'm actually kind of angry how wasted they are. It really upsets me. Man. And we'll talk about that in spoilers, because to talk about it here is just complete spoiler territory. But
yeah, I will say, while we're out of spoiler, or we're on the other side of the spoiler.
We're safe. We're still safe from spoilers right now.
Yeah. is Julianne Moore's character of Poppy. I liked a lot of her little nuances. The fact like she's obsessed with 50s culture and she's built this clandestine, like old timey, like
she's built her own town.
Bowling alley.
Her secret area, her secret lair is an actual little town she's built for herself. Yeah.
Yeah, like with an old main street, and her main base is like the diner. And she wears like a waitress's garb and whatnot, and she's overly nice and sweet.
Yeah.
But she's totally brutal. I feel like while Julianne Moore was good in that role and while the character was cool, there wasn't a lot to work with there. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
honestly,
not that she was wasted, but I kind of wanted more with her.
I like what she had. I liked the way she played it. Which was working for me. She was kind of two-dimensional in the sense that when they were setting her up early on, I thought there'd be a lot more of her later, and then there kind of wasn't. She was just kind of like popped in when she needed to, and that was fine. But it maybe just showed the focus where it was. But I think that's maybe part of having Harry back when we didn't need him back. It gave, because there was a point in this movie where they have to deal with his return in the middle, and the entire main plot stopped so we could deal with that. And because he never really contributed anything later, it felt like, oh, we've just kind of stopped and dealt with this when then it didn't, because it didn't amount to anything later. Obviously, at the time, you don't know that, but in hindsight, it's like, well, this movie's like 2 hours 20 minutes. You could have probably shaved a good 15 minutes by not having Harry back, because you wouldn't have to have dealt with all the how did he come back, and now that he's back, what's wrong, and so on.
And you could have developed Poppy a little bit more, and instead of just getting these hints of why she does what she does, you could have gotten, because I felt like Samuel L. Jackson's character was they took time to develop him in the first one as the tech dude.
A little bit. I think by their nature, they're kind of like, here's a goofy villain who's kind of like a a satire Bond villain to a point.
Well, yeah, the fact that her base is this 50 pastiche in a hidden temple in the middle of the jungle, that is such a spy movie trope.
Oh, it is, yeah.
You know, and I like, you could tell that Vaughn is a fan of those movies because of the way that he plays with those. And so the fact that we went from a tech dude that had like a mountain, like a carved out mountain as a base, to this drug cartel boss in the middle of a jungle is just, it's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, it is. So to sum up before we get into the spoilers, just the action's really good, it's really fun. I still like the characters that I like. I think Mark Strong gets a lot of great stuff to do. He gets a lot more time in this one.
That man is a treasure. That's all I'm going to say. He's been in a lot of bad things. I forgot who brought that up. Might have been our friend Daniel. That he's so good in everything he does, but he's been in a lot of bad things. So when he's in something that's really good, he stands out.
He also plays a villain a lot. It's actually rare that he plays a hero. So it's nice in these movies that he gets to be a good guy, and it's just a different side of him. So he's really great. The action, the final, the entire last 20-30 minute action sequence when they storm the villain's lair. I want, obviously, no spoilers here, but that entire thing is just fantastic. It's exciting, it's exhilarating, it's great stuff. But it's funny actually, I've never felt this, it's been a long time since I felt this way about a movie where I have some really big problems with it. There's some real legitimate complaints that are big issues, but it is still a lot of fun, and I can't take that away from it. It's still, like, it's well directed enough. It's just, there's some fundamental things in the script that I don't understand why they chose what they chose.
So you think it suffers from sequelitis? Like, it kind of was resting on the fact that it was a sequel?
No, because that's the thing. The choices that were made were weird. It's not like stuff I'd expect them to make. It's like, they went out of their way to bring Colin Firth back, when I'm like, you didn't justify it, and like, why is he back? He's not really done anything here yet. And then
it's almost as if Vaughn just wanted to work with him again. So he was like, hey, let's fix this. Let's write it into the plot of the second one.
But as a result, we get some characters who are short-changed in terms of screen time, in terms of stuff to do. And I feel like, so there is legitimate issues, but I did have a lot of fun. I was never bored. There's a couple of choices that really made me angry, but otherwise it was a blast pretty much all the way through. So I still recommend it with just those caveats.
Yes.
I will say though that because of those problems, the first one is a stronger movie.
Yeah, I think I like both of them equally. They're both. I mean, rewatching the first one in prep for the second, I forgot how much I really enjoyed it, just because it had gotten lost in the shuffle. I mean, it's been 2.5 years, but they're both. I don't think Matthew Vaughn's made a movie I haven't liked. So,
sure, yeah, I agree with that.
I put them at about equal. So they're both a ton of fun. Like that's how. if you do stupid things in a movie, but it's still fun, I'll forgive them. You know, I think I'm a little more forgiving that way because I can just shut off my brain.
I think that's the thing, though. Is the things that it does that's wrong for me. It doesn't ruin, but it shafts some characters, and that's a problem. I want to see them get more time and have more fun with them, and it's basically making choices that are taken away from its options, and that's really bizarre to me. Especially since Vaughn and Goldman have typically been very strong in script writing, and here there's just a couple of things. It's like there's one moment in particular in the middle that felt like, because normally they filter through all the Mark Millar bullshit that I don't like.
Yeah,
they take out all that stuff and leave it with a really good story. But there's one thing in the middle of this that just felt like, no, this is something that Mark Millar thought of, and I mean, obviously a lot of it's what he thought of because he wrote the comic book, but it's like this was something that wasn't filtered. They forgot to filter this part, and it's just the pure Mark Millar scenes coming through, and there's one bit of that. Again, save it for spoilers, but I wanted to get those complaints out here in the spoiler-free section, just to make it clear that while this is a lot of fun, and I will watch this again, I love what I love about this movie, but there are some things that I do genuinely really dislike. So yeah, but a lot of fun, like absolutely, it's a blast in terms of the action scenes, everything it does with that stuff, great. Every sort of outrageous sort of villain element, I won't spoil again, but great stuff. So with that said, let's go into spoilers. Let's go full spoilers now for Kingsman: The Golden Circle, so we can properly talk about all this stuff we've been hitting at. So the thing that made me angry, and this goes back to something me and Connor talked about in the first movie last week.
Does it involve Roxy?
It exactly involves Roxy. Because
that's all my friends that have seen it. That's been their main takeaway. So
this because when we talked about the first movie, we said, because remember how there was that controversy when the first movie came out about the end joke about the the anal sex and how is this a little bit poor taste, and I never had a problem with that joke on its own. But when we were talking about the first movie last week. Mm-hmm. We got to the point where we can kind of see why people have a problem though, because in terms of the movie as a whole, like Roxy's your one female character who can be the hero and be strong and be like that type of character, and she kind of got shafted in the last act because she does the whole balloon thing where she shoots down the satellite, but then she's left in this mountain and it's Eggsy that gets to do all the cool action stuff, and while he's always going to get to do more because he's the protagonist,
the main character,
it did feel like she got kind of left in the cold. Literally, in fact, she's left in this cold mountain.
Considering that she got raised up to the Lancelot role that they were both going for, because he up and left, and he ends up taking over for Galahad because of what happens to Colin Firth. But yeah, totally. And
it's not a big deal in the first movie because, like, okay, right, it was a minor complaint when we talked about it last week, but that led to a conversation about, in the trailer for the second one, she's in like one shot. And we started to worry. It's like, oh god, are they going to shaft her again? Like, because I really felt like we have an opportunity here to have this character be like a big deal and have her kind of be another hero and be like a strong female figure in this story, which it was kind of lacking up until this point. Yeah. And looking at the trailer, it was like, well, either she's going to be left out of the plot because she's going to stay back when they go to the US, or she's getting killed early. And I groaned so hard when the time came where she gets killed off in this. It felt really, really just... It just felt really shit, because...
The way that she died, I understood that because they take out the main headquarters of the Kingsman.
Yeah.
But the way that she grabbed her computer and ducked and covered, I almost felt like she'd show back up. Just the way that they handled it.
Yeah, but then you see the entire building fall into a pit.
But then, so I almost rather have had it take her by surprise. And not her do the duck and cover because the missile's coming. You know what I mean?
Because this is the thing. They make you care about her a little bit more right away, because they have her and Eggsy have this good friend moment where you can tell they've bonded. She's helping, because Eggsy's still dating the princess from the end of the last movie, which was a surprise, and it was kind of a nice surprise because it was like a kind of a playing that trope. You know how James Bond always ends with him with the girl and then you never see her again? Right. Whereas in Kingsman, no, he's actually dating her in the next movie and they might get married.
Yeah.
So
because when you see him and he has the car chase in the very first, he tells Merlin, I can't miss this dinner because he's going out to dinner and we don't know with who. And then by the time he gets there, he's been through hell through this car chase and has to escape through a sewer.
Yeah, he swam through shit to get to her.
Yeah, and you could tell he really cares. And so the fact that he's going to this dinner to meet the king and queen of Sweden, Well,
no, to be fair, that's not that night. That's the next night.
Yeah, well, I know, but this is where Roxy helps him. This is how serious he's taking the relationship, that he's meeting her parents.
Yeah. She's feeding them like facts and stuff that he can impress them at dinner. You know, he's like, oh, because the king of Sweden.
Yeah,
he's like bringing up. So, what do you think about the financial dispute right now in Uruguay,
India,
whatever it was, random country? Yeah. And then she's like feeding them information, so he's like nailing the answers, like he knows all this stuff.
Yeah.
But they have this little thing where he types to her, "Oh, thanks, you're like my best friend," and like, it's this sweet. And I was like, "Oh God, they're going to kill her. This is to make us care before she dies." And sure enough, this is when. Poppy sends missiles to all the key Kingsman locations and all the agents' homes, and including Eggsy's, but Eggsy's obviously at this dinner, so he doesn't get killed.
Right.
And actually, that was one of the complaints I had about the trailer, is that they make this big deal about all the Kingsman locations get destroyed, and I'm like, this feels like a third movie thing. Like, this is the end of the trilogy where you destroy all their home base. Like, I don't really care about it the same way yet. But maybe
that's why they subverted it, because that's what's expected in these type of, because that is, wait a minute, that is the plot of Mission Impossible 3. So yeah, I
get that's the subversion of it. I just don't think it works though. Like, even though I get why they're doing it, I don't think that necessarily means it works. But
I mean, the fact that he's made Harry's home his home, and he has become the new Galahad, like down to honoring Harry, and he has Mr. Pickle still there, and JB.
He does indeed.
He
has his dog. His dog dies as well in this explosion, may I add. But no, just to go back to like the Roxy problem, is like, okay, we've just discarded her in the first act. She has nothing to do in this movie, even less than the last movie, because she's just thrown away to make room for other things. And that was one of the things, is like when I realised that Colin Firth's character, when I realised that Harry had nothing to do in this really. I mean, he was in the final action scene and he was great in it, but in terms of plot, he like. Why couldn't that have been Roxy? Like, think about it.
Yeah. Now that you bring it up, I definitely see that now. Is she could have done all that stuff. Like when he doesn't trust whiskey, that could have been her.
It could have easily been her.
Technically, she's the better agent, because she follows the rules.
She actually passed the trials. He didn't. He flunked out the last one.
Yeah. So I definitely see that now. Like, it doesn't change my enjoyment.
Especially since you have Mark Strong's Merlin, he becomes the father figure role in this movie. Yeah. He is actually a bigger character in this movie than Colin Firth is.
Yeah.
And,
oh man. And the Scottish jokes turned up.
Yeah, there was a lot more of that in this one, because when they're getting drunk, because basically after everything happens, they're like, okay, there's a doomsday protocol, and they go to this safe under this distillery or this wine tasting place, and it's just this bottle of whiskey, and it says Statesman, so we know, okay, it's going to lead them to the Statesman, but they don't know what it means yet, and they just decide to get drunk, and like they're just drinking till everyone's like, drink to Roxy, drink to this, drink to that, and then it cuts to him at the end. He's like, the bottle's almost empty. He's like, let's drink to Scotland, and Eggsy cuts him off.
Well, then he talks about how much how much better Scotch is than whiskey when they get to the Statesman, because it's his Scottish pride, and
which is whiskey, to be fair.
Oh yeah, Scotch is, but it's like that thing where champagne can only be called champagne if it's made in that region. Same with Scotch, it can only be considered Scotch if it's made.
Bourbon,
bourbon's the same way.
Yeah.
Bourbon, whiskey, and Scotch are all whiskey, but it's like the thing with a square. Like a square can be a rhombus, but only a rhombus can be a square. Like, it's this weird.
Yeah.
But anyways, that scene where they
all jacuzzis are hot tubs, but not all hot tubs are jacuzzis.
There you go. But that scene where they're drinking all the Kingsman, that felt like the fact that Merlin is the one that keeps drinking, and then Eggsy finally sits down, like that just cracked me up. It's those little tiny things between the characters.
They go off together to find it, because they find their logo at the bottom of the glass, so they know there's something more going on, and they go off to find where this is brewed, and they get to the Statesman in Kentucky. And of course, that's where the church scene was in the last movie, so you figure, okay, this is how Harry's going to somehow come back into it. And here's the thing, right? So it's actually Tatum's character, Tequila, who shows up and like catches them and brings them in this scene. Yeah. But here's the thing: after this stuff, this is where he gets sick and goes into a coma for the rest of the movie. He gets frozen for the rest, and then gets woken up at the end. And it's basically like, well, after him, we get introduced to Whiskey, who's like the other Statesman agent who we stick with the whole movie. It's like that could have just been him in that scene.
Yeah,
you could have just swapped him with Tatum, and he would be the one that would have all movie, like he is anyway for the most part. So why not?
Yeah, but I like Pedro Pascal, the actor, though too. Like,
sure.
He was good enough. I do want tequila in a Statesman. That's weird for me to say because I don't drink. So
but absolutely. Like I get why like Tatum's good in the small amount he does, but he actually is completely irrelevant. He gets taken out of the picture almost immediately, and we have this other statesman who's the plot's actually involving.
Yeah, because once you involve the Blue Rash and you see him with it, like that's his thing now. Is he gets put on ice, until they can figure it out. But other than that, he is completely irrelevant.
So we get Whiskey, who's the one who actually works with them and goes with Eggsy on missions and stuff. He has a lasso, which he's very good with, and then he also can electrify it, which turns it basically into like a lightsaber whip.
Yeah, a light whip. So that whip, is it the same as the lasso, or was it one and the other? Because I feel like he had both at one point.
It was the same, because he mentioned at the end he could turn it on, so it was just the same one. Okay. But he could turn it on and off.
Yeah, those, I was having Indiana Jones flashes, because
of the first scene he has it. I don't think he wants to kill anyone, which is why he doesn't turn it on. Whereas later on he turns it on and it's like cutting guys in half. It's a really cool scene actually when he starts doing that. But
so the scene in the bar, they kind of replay the scene in Kingsman where Colin Firth attacks all the hoodlums in the bar.
Well, before we get to that, because we have to set up why that's important. But
I was just gonna say that Whiskey, that's where you get to see him cut loose with the whip. And I was having some Indiana Jones flashes. Like I never saw Harrison Ford do that cool whip stuff in those movies, if we're
going to talk about the bar scene, let's rewind a little bit and talk about Harry and Harry coming back. And so Harry's there. He has no memory. They saved him. They show like a sort of retcon scene where they flew in after the church thing, and they've got this gel that'll save a headshot wound. Bullshit, of course, but yeah, whatever. We're in a ridiculous.
Yeah, it involves nanites and a gel, and it's very. I think it's funny that the American version they needed a way to deal with headshots, so they created this where you feel like the Kingsmen are so slick that they don't have this problem.
Yeah, this wasn't an issue. So we've also got robot dogs in this, so whatever, we'll fly with it. So Harry's there. He's not got his memory, and both Merlin and Eggsy are trying to get him to remember. And Halle Berry, who's like their Merlin, basically, that's the Statesman's Merlin.
Ginger ale.
She's like, okay, he'll come back, but he's going to have to get like a trauma or a memory of a shock, an event is what's going to trigger him out of it. So for a while he's just on his own, and we have a scene where they fill the room full of water, which is kind of like the training sequence from the first movie, and it never like kicks him in, and then okay, that's fine. And then later on, after other stuff happens and Eggsy's in a low place, it's when he has the idea that he's the dog thing. He goes and gets a dog that's like his old dog, Mr. Pickles, and he threatens to shoot him in front of him, and that's what triggers his memory. So here's the thing, right? Well, first of all, the scene where he has his memory, the music that plays is actually from X-Men First Class. That's actually a cue from that movie, because I recognised it the moment it started playing.
See, the fact that it's Henry Jackman, he does the Captain America movies, I was in some Captain America flashbacks during some of these scenes.
Yeah,
like the big horns.
That track immediately reminded me of that. I do like the main theme, though. The Kingsman main theme that plays is quite good. I like that it uses a main theme because it feels more heroic. But so you've got this, and so that music plays, right? Fine, whatever. It's a little distracting because I recognise it from the other movie. But this is something he's done before. In Kick-Ass, he used a lot of tracks from previous movies. But so anyway, so we've got all this, right? And this is a lot of time we've spent on this drowning scene. There's scenes where Harry's like, "Oh, I'm just going to go back home and do my butterfly collection," and there's all these scenes where they kind of have all this playing out. Which is why it feels like there's so much time wasted when he finally does get his memory back. Nothing really happens with him. Now, there's this plot thing where they set up in the bar scene where it's like the first movie where you've got these assholes who are like, telling them to go away and they're being mean to them and whatnot. So he locks the door. He's like, "Manners maketh man," and he goes to like flip the drink. He flips the glass, and it just misses the guy completely. And then he goes to continue the fight. He's like, "Oh, well, we're going to stand around here, we're going to fight." But before he finishes his sentence, the guy punches him. And it's telling you quite clearly...
He's off his game.
Something's wrong. He's not quite back to normal yet. And like, okay, this will come back eventually, but for a while you're going to be out of it. And he keeps hallucinating and seeing butterflies. Here's my problem with this plot, right? I'll ask you this. What point in the movie was he fixed?
That was my point, because he does something rash during like the end of the second act, and I'm just like, well, how does he know that? Because as of right now, he's still bad at his job. So and they never really resolve that with
which is
how
fine.
he knows.
Which is fine at the time. In the scene itself, it's like, okay, that's why we doubt him, because he's like, well, he's not quite himself yet, so do we trust that he's making the right choice?
Right. But when it's turned out that he was correct, there's never anything to go, well, how did he know?
There's never that moment where you feel like, okay, he's back, he's 100% again. Because the thing is he goes into the final fight with Eggsy, and we've still not had that moment. And I was expecting him to mess up during the final fight when they're going into the base, and he never does. He's just like a Terminator. And then I thought, are they going to do it after this? That'll be weird, because he's just been a Terminator on the way in here, and then it's just never brought up. They never really actually paid off, like, this is the moment where he's himself again, where he's 100%, where he's a badass again. They never have that moment. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't really have much of a plot either. Like, he's there to help fight, and that's it.
Yeah, again, that could have been Roxy. She could have been the one that shot the other character. Should I just say
who it is? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Whiskey.
We're in spoilers, Matt.
Harry
We can just go for it. It's fine.
I know, but I know if you were going to yell at me for jumping ahead and stuff. No, so he's convinced. So they're on the run because they're going to get this antidote. So basically, Poppy's whole plan is she's hooked she controls the drug trade. That's what the Golden Circle is. She has a monopoly on it, but she's put this virus in all of her drugs.
Yeah, and this is everything, by the way. This is everything from small time stuff to crystal meth and heroin, like everything.
That it starts with the blue rash, and then it goes to a mania, to a paralysis, until death. And because this is a whole commentary on the war on drugs and everything, but there's a ransom going on that if she meets the demands of basically legalizing everything and ending the war on drugs, she'll release the antidote. So Eggsy and Harry and Whiskey go to get the
we'll talk more
antidote.
We'll talk more about the drug side of things later.
But so they have this antidote, and Eggsy's trying to get it and keep it safe, and Whiskey ends up accidentally hitting it out of his hand, and Harry suddenly thinks that that Whiskey did it on purpose. So he shoots Whiskey after Whiskey has just saved them from all of Poppy's men. In a really cool scene with the laser whip with a lasso, he cuts a dude in half.
Yeah,
you're like, oh no, Whiskey's
he's
a
all
good guy.
It's all in the snow, because this all takes place at the base where they got the antidote from is up in this ski resort, and so it's
in the Alps.
So it's all the blood all growing out of the white snow. It's great stuff. It really makes it all pop. Mm-hmm. It's good, really good fun scene.
It's great. But yeah, so Harry kills him, and Eggsy freaks out, and he's like, oh no, he's a bad guy. I just know. And you never get that, because when it turns out at the end, when they think they have Poppy, she gets defeated, and then Whiskey shows up, and they have a fight with Whiskey, and there's never that moment to where they're like, well, Harry, how'd you know it? And he can't just be like, oh, I had a feeling.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Did they give you a little bit of the evidence beforehand? Because he has to see the antidote, and then he knocks it out of his hand. So it's just enough that when Harry says it, you do have this sort of bit of doubt. It's like, he could be right.
Yeah.
He could be right. But we also doubt him. So it's kind of... And that's intentional, but there's never really... There's just never that moment where Harry's... Like, this is his moment where he's back to himself. He never has that moment. And it's kind of weird that it's missing.
Yeah,
it's kind of odd.
Definitely.
So I feel like he didn't need to be back. They did nothing with him other than a really murky plot.
And that could have been Roxy at the same time. That's what I originally started this all. That she could have been the one that shot Whiskey, because she's a better agent, and she just felt like he's been doing shady things, and it could have been built that way.
And then Roxy could have been the partner in all the final action stuff.
Exactly. You could have seen her jump flipping around and her shooting the dog, because she passed the training, just like Harry. She shot the dog with the blank, whereas that's something Eggsy could never do. So it fits a lot of the tonality that happens in that last action scene too.
It fits exactly everything that was set up in the first movie, if that was her, which is why it's really weird. Now, you mentioned the whole drug plot, and I want to talk about that, because I feel like the messaging on that is really mixed and weird. I feel like there was parts of it where it felt like it was let's just legalise some of the minor ones so that people can use them. But then at the same time, it was like, no, we also want to legalise heroin and crystal meth, and I'm like, no, no way. Come on now.
Yeah, so I like that commentary, because the war on drugs is such a murky... Because again, I'm straight edge. I don't, don't have the urge.
Yeah, me neither, funny enough, but...
Right, but I have friends that partake in certain things, and... they're not bad. They're not criminals. So if you want to criminalize everything, it's kind of bad. And I like that they use that point with the president's chief of staff and whatnot.
Because the president basically is like, oh, we'll just not give the demands. We'll just let all the criminals die. This is great. Like that's his attitude.
We'll look like we're trying to help on the surface, but hey, look, we're taking out a significant portion of bad people. And I'm using quotes for audio.
I know, and this is where it was getting, because I think his side of it really feels like, okay, no, it's pro the other side, but then it's like, no, that's legalized crystal meth. And then at the end of the movie, when everyone gets like cured at the end, it's like almost every character we see who was affected is like, yeah, I'm never touching that stuff again. And it's like, yeah, okay, so they've learned not to take drugs. So I feel like its messaging is kind of murky. The only thing I can really take from it is that it's not black and white. There's shades of grey. That's the only thing I can really take away from it. But it was just a bit murky. So
again, the fact that Matthew Vaughn and Jane Goldman try to put that into an action movie that involves spies, I can admire that. I will say they're swinging for bigger things.
I will say I did love the effect of when they die from the thing, when we see that one person die, and it's like the blood pouring out the nose as they die. I thought that was,
and their eyes pop.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, it's graphic.
Good stuff. Now I have one final criticism before we get to just positive stuff, because like I say, big criticisms, but this one's kind of minor, but it leads to a big moment, so I do have to mention it. So Merlin's death. The death itself is really good, mainly because of his acting and because they use the Country Road song. So because they set up early on that he likes to sing that, and then he starts singing it. So basically, he ends up on this mine. He pushes Eggsy off it. He takes the fall. It's like, I'm on the mine. I'm going to lure the guards in. This is when they're just about to storm the lair,
the base,
and.
And he's talked about how he's kind of always wanted to go into the field. Yeah. But his specialty's always been support, and that's where he's stayed.
He gets to suit up in the proper suit like the guys for the first time, and they make some comments about it. And he starts singing the song, and it's a great, and the score, the orchestra score, starts to give him backing as he's singing. So it's, Country Roads. He's singing it in his Scottish accent. Country Roads. I'm not going to do it. Your mate's going, Matt. Your mate's going, Matt. So he's doing this. It's a great moment. It's fantastic because of his acting, because of the music, and it's this great bit of sacrifice. However, the build up to it is ham-fisted as shit, because they've got a mine detector, right?
Yeah, they have a minesweeper. They go out of their way. That's part of the statesman's gear. Yeah. So you know how the Kingsmen have an umbrella that acts as a shield and a bunch of different things. The Statesmen have a baseball bat that is also a mine detector, because they somehow run into this more, I guess. And Eggsy's doing the sweeping, and they take a step, and it was.
Yeah, so they're sweeping for mines, and he still steps in a mine at the end of the scene by accident, and it felt like all you had to do to fix my issue with this is not have a minesweeper in the first place.
Yeah.
Because
we know Poppy talks about how there's mines around the base.
But that's not the issue. Like, even if we didn't know that wouldn't be a big deal, because we know it's there. That's cool. That adds a bit of maybe tension to them sneaking up. Mm-hmm. But all you have to say is that these characters don't know. Like, they don't necessarily have to assume that there's mines.
Right.
But they do. They do assume there's mines. They bring a detector, and yet they still step in one. It's ham-fisted.
Although I will say I shed a tear for Merlin.
His actual death moment was great. It's just how we got there was convoluted.
Yeah. But in the first movie, he's one of my favorite characters. Just how he plays off of Eggsy, because he's a little more brash and not as polished as Harry is. So he's kind of that midpoint between Harry and Eggsy, and here him and Eggsy make such a good team. Just with each other. So. We talked already how great Mark Strong is. And it's
to his credit that I care that Merlin dies, who gets more to do. I care that Rock... I'm kind of pissed about that because I feel like she's wasted, but I do care about her. So, when they're going into the final battle and Eggsy's like, you killed all these people, and he's rhyming that off as he's about to kill the bad guy, it's like, I'm kind of rooting for you here with all this, but it's just, Roxy... I mean, Merlin's not a big deal. I think it's ham-fisted how we get to his death, but he's the one that made sense to kill off in the last act of this movie. It made sense.
Well, there's stakes and whatnot, but I did like how it was Charlie, who was one of the washouts from the first Kingsman.
Yeah, he
didn't make it through the training.
He's the lead henchman for Poppy. He's the main fighter for her. and he's got a robot arm.
Yeah, it was called Armageddon.
Yeah,
like that cracked me up.
There's also there's two robot dogs that are very Wolfenstein-esque. If you've played that game, they're very reminiscent of that.
And their names are Benny and Jet, which that cracked me up.
And of course, something I did not expect in this movie. And even if I expected it, because I actually knew he was in it, I'd seen his name in the credit list, but I assumed it was a cameo, right? Mm-hmm. But Elton John's in this movie. Elton John is a captive prisoner of Poppy, who basically used the fact that Samuel L. Jackson in the first movie kidnapped a lot of celebrities as a cover, so that everyone just thought that he went with them. But instead, she's got him. She's making him play songs for her privately in her own private theatre, and so he's held captive. And obviously, they come and get him, and they set up some. But not only does he get a really cool scene a ridiculous scene where he gets to fly kick a bad guy in the face.
It's so great.
It's fantastic. I was laughing my ass off throughout all this.
The one that got me more is when she's showing, so she's put up the ransom for her plan, and he's the cure, you know, because in captivity, he's gotten a hold of some kind of drugs. We don't know what, but he was partying with one of her henchmen.
He's just swearing left and right and telling AF off.
Yeah, oh my God. He's at that door, and he's just this grouchy man.
Yeah.
And, oh man, I lost it.
It's good stuff, especially since it's kind of playing on he's been filmed swearing at the press before and stuff. It's kind of playing on some of his actual antics.
Yeah. I mean, I already liked Elton John as it was. This made me love him, just because he's playing a much bigger version of himself. So
yeah, and he's even using a plot sense because they set up the idea that the dogs are set to not kill him. So he actually comes in and acts as a shield for Colin Firth at the end of the movie as the dogs try to get to him. And then that was a great callback to the anal joke at the end of the first one, where he tells Harry, "Hey, if you save the world, or if you I'll get you tickets to my next show since you saved my ass." He's like, "Excuse me, I have to go and save the world." He's like, "Well, if you save the world, I'll get you a backstage pass," which is just a nice callback to that joke. Which actually leads me to I did have one more complaint that I'd forgotten about.
Here we go.
So in the middle of the movie, Charlie's girlfriend, to put a tracker on her, Eggsy has to insert a tracker into her vagina. And it's basically... They do this weird thing in the middle of it where he phones his girlfriend, the princess, and he's like, "I'll only do this if you give me the okay." And it's... whatever. This is the scene where I was talking about how there was something that felt like unfiltered Mark Miller that somehow made it into the movie. Like they forgot to clean it up and make it not be edgy for the sake of edgy. This is the scene I was talking about, where he has to finger her to insert the tracker. I was just kind of like, the whole time that scene, I was just kind of like, this just feels like I say, Mark Miller's edgy for the sake of edgy. You're just trying to poke holes at things and prod people into being offended. And I wasn't offended. I just I see what you're doing. I see through it, and I'm like, I could do without it.
Yeah, I mean the fact that they go the long way around with it, and it was. I mean the fact that it was Charlie's girlfriend too, on top of everything, and she's... Yeah,
it was kind of like this, so he could joke later that he'd done something with his girlfriend. It made her feel like property, it made her feel like not like a person, it just...
A thing.
Yeah.
Even though she's kind of terrible, because you get to see her, and, she acts up and whatnot, it's...
Oh yeah, she's awful, but... It adds into that, again, that the movie has no good female characters. Like, it shits away Roxy. I mean... Halle Berry, I guess, but not much.
But again, she's just support, and she has a little through line how she's been wanting to go into the field, but Whiskey's downvoted her every time, and stuff. And there's a nice payoff at the end where she gets to become the new Agent Whiskey. But yeah, there's really... Princess Tildy, kind of all she is there is to nag.
She's there to be saved because she gets infected with the blue stuff as well, and she's there to be saved. That's her thing.
I do like that through line though, that he's like, I want to be with you and I love you, but if I marry you, I'm now a prince of Sweden, and that's not good for my job. And it makes sense. Like, it's not him just being afraid of commitment, which would be the easy thing to do in a movie like this. It's like, no, I'm a secret agent, and you're gonna put me in the public spotlight.
What is funny actually is at the end of the movie when they're getting married, that's like the big final scene. Is that the whole movie I was like, where's his mum? We haven't seen his mum all movie. Yeah. And then sure enough, at the end of the wedding, she's actually there. I was like, oh, they haven't forgotten about her.
Yeah.
Very good. And his little sister or brother.
Yep.
Whatever the kid was, I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he had like a little sibling. And they're a few years older, and they're there. so everyone's at his wedding, and that's kind of the big thing, is it? So, but yeah, so that's as much as I've just gave you a big list of things that I had problems with and I didn't like. It doesn't stop the fact that all the action and the characters that do get stuff to do that I do like is exceedingly fun. Like that action scene at the end when they're storming it together, and Harry's got the umbrella as the shield, and they're sort of back to back, and they're shooting guys left and right. The big donut from the donut shop is like rolling across, and they're shooting through that.
The scissors from the barbershop fall and impale.
Yeah, that was a great cool. That was a great gory moment. And then when they're both fighting whiskey inside the diner, it's this double team, and they basically do a double team move into the meat grinder to kill him.
It was a Dudley death drop almost.
Almost.
I'm watching through wrestling moves, they just hit him with an assisted powerbomb. That looked dope.
Yeah, so all this really fun stuff, and it was fun because Eggsy fights Charlie with the metal arm, which, by the way, the fist shoots out and retracts back with a sort of rope.
Like a grappling hook.
Yeah, so that was making for some fun stuff, and again, all of it was really inventive and really well thought out. While that was going on, Firth was fighting the robot dogs, and that ended in different ways. One was like the molten gold that they used to tattoo people, melted one of the dogs, and just all this stuff. And the other one was beaten to death with bowling balls. Also fun, just good stuff.
That whole last action scene is it's the church scene, just not as chaotic, because you have a clear side. You have the Kingsman versus these guys.
It's bad guys that are getting beat, whereas the church scene was more. These are all relatively innocent people who are being made to go crazy.
Yep. Yeah. So, but it was a whole lot of fun, and like you mentioned, the car chase sequence where Charlie is trying to get into the car. The
first shot of that I think is really impressive is in the trailer. It's when Eggsy's hanging out the car and he has to go into the roof to get to not get hit, and it's just this slow motion shot of him sort of flying in the air on the roof of the car.
Yep,
it looks so good. And then the shot I mentioned where it's the bird's eye view, and it's getting shot by cars behind him, and it's skidding around two separate corners around this town square. And we see it all in this one shot from a bird's eye view, and you just see the car going around these corners. It's great stuff. It looks fantastic. I mean, if I have a complaint, not about the action itself, it's maybe that there's in that middle section where we're dealing with Harry, there is a sort of long stretch where we don't have any. Until we get to the snow, getting the antidote stuff, where we do get some really good action there. But there is maybe a lull in the middle. Whereas the first movie, I don't think had that problem as much, but it's minor.
Yeah, the first one definitely is a bit tighter. But they're working with an origin story as well, so it's a little easier to keep it tighter.
I wouldn't excuse it for that reason, though. I think this could be tighter.
I'm not excusing it. Yeah. I'm just saying that's a reason to make it tighter. Because here they're trying to wedge that Harry story in.
Exactly. That's why I think we can't excuse it. Is because we've actually clearly looked at it and said, no, that's why it's not tight. Yeah. This is why it's a bit bloated. Is this stuff here? Yeah. So that's a bit of a shame. It's very ridiculous though, and like we say, we've got a robot arm, we have a car that goes underwater, we've got robot dogs, we have all this stuff going on. We have
a whip fight where he takes a knife and puts it into the whip and then uses that.
Yeah. At the end when he's fighting both Harry and Eggsy, and he's got the electric whip, because it turns out he's actually his wife was killed by a junkie, which is why he.
Yes. So he's gone rogue. He's not working for the statesman nor her. He's in line with the U.S. president. Let them all get taken out. This is fine.
So he's fighting the two of them with the electric whip, and there's one of the shots is Eggsy jumps through the loop of the electric whip without getting hit in slow motion. It's just all these really fun, inventive. It's very very kinetic. That's the word I was using a lot in
kinetic.
The first review we did, me and Connor did the first one last week. I used that word so much to describe the action scenes. Everything just moves and flows together so well.
And you look at his other movies too. Even the action sequences in Stardust, which is a little more toned down and fantastical.
Great movie though.
They're kinetic. X-Men First Class, very kinetic. He kind of not that he ruined X-Men movies for me, but that one's so far and above Singer stuff.
Night and day. Bryan Singer basically just has them all stand in a line and shoot their powers at the bad guy.
Yeah, where he did a lot of fun stuff, especially with the Banshee suit and whatnot.
Oh I never thought I'd care about Banshee in a movie, but sure enough, Matthew Vaughn.
Yes.
I mixed the names up
this
there.
Dude, yeah, I gotcha. But kinetic. There's that scene also at the end where he So it's like a stalemate where Whiskey has Harry, and he's got the lasso around his neck, and he's like, "Look, I don't want to do this. If you just let me win, we'll deal with it later." And he threatens to electrify it, but Eggsy and Harry decide, no, they're not going to let this dude win. And he goes to electrify it, and there's that slow mo, and you see the electric charge travel up, and Harry gets it off just in time. And it's the way that the shot's all framed through the whip. It just, again, Matthew Vaughn, this dude, I want him on Superman so bad.
It's very excessive. Look, the last fight goes on probably longer than it should, but all of it's shot so well that you're just like, nah, you're just basking in the insanity of this. And it's when the movie's at its best. It's really good action. And Vaughn usually has such a good handle on characters. It's a shame that a couple are wasted, a couple are misused. But it's a testament to how good everything else is that even after all those complaints, I'm still coming out of it with a smile on my face and I'm saying it's really good. I just have to be critical of the things that I'm critical of. But no. Is there anything else that we've glossed through that you want to bring up?
No. I think we're all good. We talked about Elton John, which that was one of my favorite parts.
Elton John, Robot Dogs.
And just, I like the idea of the statesman just to give Americans, to play with those tropes of like being a cowboy, but still being a gentleman, and the way that they dress. Like I was telling Connor in a personal chat, like when I left Kingsman, I didn't have this need to be posh like them. Like I want to do my hair a little bit better, but I don't like dressing up. But at the end of this one, I wanted to dress like the statesman. Like I want a cool canvas jacket with a wool lining on the collar, and I want a Stetson. I've never wanted a cowboy hat in my life.
I didn't feel either of these feelings after either movie. So
no,
you're on your own with that.
So you just basically want to dress like Merlin in the first one. He's got the wool turtleneck just to stay warm. It's practical, No.
I don't really base my fashion sense on characters in the movies. I'm good.
Oh well, I've done that. As you can tell, I've done that my entire life. I've tried to go for the Clark Kent aesthetic.
I see.
Yeah.
One more thing, just in terms of maybe bloated things that we could have maybe done without, is that there's this other henchman who gets interviewed early on by Poppy, who then, because we see her feed this other guy to the grinder,
that was brutal.
He has to eat the burger out of the meat that comes out of him. And I thought his stuff, honestly, I mean, as much as it was kind of fun because it was like showing how crazy she was, it didn't really amount to much. Like we probably could have lost that.
Yeah.
But I mean that's minor compared to the other complaints. That's just that's small potatoes. But hey, I thought of it. It was a thing. But no, action is second to none. And I still like Eggsy. I love Merlin. I love a lot of these characters, and it is a really fun action movie where you can really root for the heroes, and the last act is dynamite. So like, as much as I'm giving it a lot of criticisms, and some of them are quite big, it is a really fun movie. It is. So yeah. So with that, I think we'll get to ratings. So Matt, what would you rate the Kingsman: The Golden Circle out of 10?
So this is an 8 for me. I really enjoyed it. It's been one of my favorite movies of the year thus far. And we all know that I tend to grade easier on fun movies, like Kong. Kong is still in my top 5, I think.
That's insane.
From the beginning of the year.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But because it's fun. But yeah, that's an 8.
Okay. I am hitting just slightly lower at a 7.5. The first one I gave a very solid 8. This one, I think, because of its problems, I have to grade it a little bit lower. Even though I think the action goes above. Yeah, I mean, I think the church scene in the first one is absolutely fantastic. This one does different things, and I think I like the action in this one more. But obviously the criticism...
It seems like Vaughn's more comfortable with the action here. Because we've already seen it.
He's getting better at what he does, certainly. I'd agree with that. So let's hope he does take Superman. So I'm going with 7.5. It's a very enthusiastic 7.5. It's just the problems that drag it down a little bit, unfortunately, are kind of major. So, but no, Kingsman: Golden Circle. So not without problems, but still a lot of fun. If you like the action stuff in the first movie, you're going to be in for a good time. So, so there you go. That is Kingsman: The Golden Circle. So let us know what you think of the movie. in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mild_fudge for channel updates. Be aware that during October, me and Tim on Screams After Midnight are going to be doing a lot of extra horror movie reviews, so don't be worried if you think, oh, there's too many of these going up. It'll calm back down in November. It's a 1 month thing. We're doing a lot of extras.
Well, I mean, Screams and Halloween go together, like Reese's and trick-or-treating.
So, and I'll tease, there's something else that's starting on the channel. Well, not the channel per se, but something we're doing starting in October, which you can look for. I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're not ready to announce it. We're going to drop it on you early in the month, but you can look forward to that. So yeah, so things are coming. But yeah, so yeah, if you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can get some bonuses over there. You can vote in certain movie shows. Me and Matt do 121 Overload, which we both pick a movie we love, and then the patrons vote over which one wins and what we discuss and watch again. So look forward to that. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again. Keep watching movies. We'll see you next time.